So I want to start this video off, first of all, by saying, please, I am begging you, please, this is not a harassment video. This is not some kind of, go attack this person. This is not me. This isn't even me, like, calling them out or anything. There was just a lot that happened yesterday with, this emulation and mods and pirate, all that bullshit on Twitter. And I really don't like, it's hard to not get sucked into it, but I really don't like arguing through Twitter or text. I'd rather do it in a Discord or, debate like that. But please, alright, so this is about me and Mandy Plays. Mandy is a YouTuber. She actually makes really good videos. Like, if you like Nintendo style content, you should check her out, honestly. She used to be very, very shy, but I'm actually proud of her. She's, gotten a lot more open with herself, and I know how fucking hard it is to do YouTube videos and being an introvert because, well, I'm one, and even now it's still hard for me to make YouTube videos and put myself out there. Even on Twitter, like, I'm a very shy person, but I kind of force myself out of that shell, so yeah, check her out. She's a very sweet girl. She's a very sweet girl. She makes nice content. I really don't have any issues with her. We just kind of, every now and then, when I'm talking about emulation or any stuff like that, she gives her 2 cents. And usually we're fine, after a couple trades. But this time she really, wanted to call me a hypocrite and shit. And you know what? Since I'm doing a response video, I'll talk directly to you, Mandy. I apologize. So I guess the best way to do this is just to start from the beginning where it started. So this guy posted the sales of Witcher 3 by hardware platform, units sold. And, I was looking at it and it showed that PC is actually outselling every other console. And so I decided to post this. Crazy how when a few people pirate a game, console peasants are all over it and ready to slander PC gamers as nothing but thieves who steal games, but when statistics like this come out that disprove that, they're all hush hush. And my whole point with that tweet is, yeah, piracy is an issue. I'm never gonna say that it doesn't exist or it's not an issue or it doesn't need to be resolved or doesn't need to be talked about. But in the grand scheme of things, it's in the overwhelming minority of people. So there's just a constant narrative that is painting PC gamers in general in a bad light, and that's regardless of what you think about emulation mods or anything. You shouldn't believe that unless you believe the majority of PC gamers are just pirates, that doesn't make any sense. The numbers don't work. How can the majority of PC gamers be pirates, but then a lot of games on PC are outselling consoles? That doesn't make any sense. So yeah, the point is, while piracy is an issue, it does need to be talked about. There is a problem. It seems to be in the minority. If it's such a rampant issue, it doesn't seem like it's making a dent into the sales of games. As long as those games are good and you're providing a good service, people are gonna buy it. And then I say, even if we assume 1 million people pirated Witcher 3, which is outrageous, I really don't think that many people pirated that game. Plus, we can't really get numbers on that. It still outsold all the consoles. That's it. That's all I said. All I said is that if pirating is such an issue on PC, and The Witcher 3 is so popular, why is it outselling all the other consoles? Has Witcher 3 been pirated before? I'm sure it has. Of course it has. Some scumbags out there just pirate. They just pirate indiscriminately. They don't care. They'll never buy the games. They're just gonna pirate. So of course you're gonna have that. But you're also gonna have people who steal console games. You're gonna have some people who steal them or jailbreak their consoles or find a way to do something illegal to play games. But neither of these people should be part of the discussion because they are in the vast minority. That's the narrative I'm trying to destroy, that all PC gamers are pirates. How can that be true while at the same time, a lot of games are best selling on PC. Ubisoft has said PCs are most profitable. Ubisoft has said that PC is their most profitable platform. A lot of other developers and other publishers have said the same thing as well. A lot of games are best selling on Steam, like all the time. Resident Evil 2, Sekiro, like all those kinds of games. But let's just continue. Then Mandy says, that's such a bad example, holy shit. And I just ask why, because I really don't understand how it's a bad example. She says, because you're using the even if scenario, that's what she meant, to make a point that has nothing to do with consoles. What? God, I can't fucking read. Because you're using the even if scenario to make a point that has nothing to do with consoles. If anything, it makes your point sound even worse. Who cares where it's sold most? So at that point, I'm like, all right, maybe she just misunderstood. I'm not trying to say that. I don't care where it's sold most. So I say, I don't care where it's sold most. I think you misunderstood my point. I care about the narrative that piracy is such a rampant issue on PC, which some tend to over-exaggerate. Because if it were such an issue that some claim it to be, no one would sell games on PC. So at that point, I think she gets it. I clarified my stance. And now you're saying it's still an issue though, which I don't disagree with. Yeah, piracy is an issue. So you say it's still an issue though. Yeah, not as big as some make it out to be, but it's still there. You literally just agreed with my premise. That is my entire point. It's still an issue though. Yeah, not as big as some make it out to be, but it's still there. That's what I'm saying. That's literally what I'm saying. Like, I don't care where it's sold most. You misunderstood my post. I care about killing the narrative that piracy is such a rampant issue, blah, 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 that people over-exaggerate. You literally just agreed with me, Mandy. But now you're switching the goalpost. This is where it started going, like, down. Like, this is where we really fucking went off the fucking trail. Like, you talk about mods, emulations, and so on. That doesn't really help with killing the narrative. So at this point, I'm like, where are we right now? Because I'm trying to disprove that PC gamers just relentlessly pirate, which is untrue. You even agree that it's untrue. It's not an issue though, not as big as some make it out to be, but it's still there. I've never said that it's not there. So like, I'm trying to understand, like, you literally agreed with me right here. That's my entire point. Yeah, it's an issue. Yeah, there is piracy, but you and I both agree it's in the vast minority. That's my whole point. But now you're switching it to, you talk about mods and emulation and so on. That doesn't really help with killing the narrative. What does that have to do with piracy? So people start jumping in. Matt says, what does mods have to do with the conversation? Like that's whatever. Like, I don't... Devs frequently encouraging modding in their games. So I go, she believes mods are disrespectful to developers and vehemently opposes emulation, even though consoles have done it, and it's literally legal. I happen to enjoy and praise the things she doesn't morally agree with, so she calls me out from time to time. And you say, wrong. I feel in certain circumstances, I think emulation is okay, especially for older games, where people can't get them so easily. I have a problem with modern game emulation, and I'm okay with mods only if it's to fix a big problem in the game, not just silly stuff. But Mandy, listen, really try to understand where I'm coming from, because I don't want to have problems with you. I think you're a very nice person. I really like your content on YouTube. I think you're a cool person. So right now, Mandy, we pretty much agreed earlier that piracy is in the vast minority of issues on PC. Yeah, it's a bigger issue on PC because it's easier, than consoles and stealing games on console or jailbreaking consoles or whatever. But remember, this is the turning point. You agreed with my premise. But Mandy, I really think you just didn't want to be wrong. You didn't want to agree with me. And I'm not saying everyone should agree with me, you should agree with me, but like you did agree with me. This is my entire point. But now you are switching it to, well, you talk about mods and emulation, so that's just not helping you kill the narrative. You feel in certain circumstances that emulation is okay, especially for older games, where people can't get them. And you have a problem with modern game emulation. Fair. That's fair. I would rather, for me personally, emulation across the board is fine. I don't really care about how old a game is. I'm not really here to set goalpost or like make a checklist of what year or what date, what time it's appropriate to emulate a game. I feel like that makes more problems than just giving a blanket it's okay statement. Cause like where do we draw the line then? Are games from this generation allowed? I'm assuming you'd probably say no. But how about games from last gen, like 360, PS3 games? Is that okay? Or is that like too soon? Are those still too recent? Like where do we draw the line, Mandy? Like where do we stop saying it's not, or where do we say it's okay to emulate, and when do we stop? That just doesn't make any sense to me, but that's fine. I respect your opinion. You don't have to like modern game emulation. And I'm okay with mods only if it's to fix a big problem in the game, not just silly stuff. So, alright, so you're okay with mods if it's enhancing, if it's fixing a problem. The best example of a mod I can give that fixes issue is the FAR mod for Nier Automata. It literally fixes the game. It's completely broken on PC without that mod. So I'm assuming you'd be okay with that. But then you say not just silly stuff. So like Thomas the Tank Engine replacing Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 is a no-go. And you know what? You're fine. If you don't want to use mods that way, you don't have to. Mods just add replay value and make a game more fun and let you play how you want. But not everyone has to do that. And not everyone has to like that. But I don't understand why you're not okay with people doing silly stuff in the game. Playing a video game is silly in and of itself. You're literally holding a controller sitting in front of a screen and interacting with pixels. Like you're not doing anything that's mature or or like, super adult like. I don't get why you're drawing that. Like, what, no fun? Are you literally saying no fun allowed? No silly stuff with mods. You can only, what? Why? I don't understand. Developers love mods. I look at Steam, there's a whole entire Steam workshop for mods. Can you imagine, like, Bethesda games are known for mods, and they support it too. Like, I don't see how you have I guess fine, go ahead and have a problem with silly stuff. You're just coming across as like, no one should be using mods, no one should be emulating games from X amount of years ago, or current day, or, anything from last gen, anything from here, this is not allowed. No mods for this, no Thomas the Tank Engine mods, no nude mods, no any kind of mods that make any, game more fun. Like, who are you to dictate that? Like, who are you to dictate that mods are only okay if it fixes an issue for a game, but not just silly stuff? That just blows my mind. I've never heard anyone say that. And fine, I respect your opinion, but I don't know, that seems very just like you just don't like it. You just don't agree with it. And again, we are straying away from the original point that you agreed with me on. My whole point is that the narrative that PC gamers are just pirates, that the overwhelming majority of PC gamers are nothing but thieves who steal games, is untrue. There are plenty of games that have outsold the console versions. Plenty of publishers and platforms have stated that PC is the most profitable for them. So with that being said, like, we should have stopped right there. You just agreed with me. But this went on even longer. And the stuff about mods is just your opinion, and emulation is good across the board. Who cares if it's a game from 1990 or 2020? Where do you draw the morality? How old can a game be before you can emulate it? These are all silly, arbitrary rules you set for mods and emulation. Like, it's just silly to set rules like, alright, you can use mods, but only to fix stuff, not to, have fun, not to do silly things, not to do stuff that's, funny or fun or anything like that. And you're only allowed to emulate old games, but I'm not going to specify how old and where the cutoff is. Huh? Why can't that sort of stuff just be okay across the board? Like, you don't have to be okay with emulation itself, but like, why are we setting up goalposts for what age of a game we can do? Like, can I emulate Metal Gear Solid 4? Or should I not do that? Like, where do we draw the line, Mandy? That's all I'm asking. And like, most people agree that mods, like silly mods, let's just call them silly mods, like they're just, it doesn't affect you. Like, you should just not care about them. I don't understand, like, why you're taking this stance where you're sitting on this fucking, like, you're standing on this hill and saying, I'm okay with mods, but you should not be using mods to have fun in the game. You should only be using mods to fix a problem. I would never say that. And I say it's a negligible issue, just like how people who jailbreak their consoles or steal console games are negligible. Neither of us would deny the reality that people steal games, right? But just because we see like a few dozen people or even a few thousand people doing something, while the numbers are showing, tens of millions of people are buying the game, there's no point in bringing up that small minority of people. And that's what the original post that started all this, that was my whole point, and you agree with that. But let's move on from that. I know I said that a few times, and what's wrong with mods and emulation? Actually, I know how you feel about them, but most don't have an issue with mods and emulation. Not even developers or the law care. So again, you say, well, talking about how great mods and emulations are ain't winning you any favors with killing the narrative. Like, I never brought up mods or emulation. I literally said in this post, crazy how when a few people pirate a game, console peasants are all over it and ready to slander PC gamers. I'm talking about how the overwhelming majority of PC gamers buy games legally. Like, we purchased the fucking game. We both already agree that they are in the minority. Like, people who pirate games are in the minority. But you switch the goalposts to, well, yeah, sure, you're right, but you've talked about mods, how great mods and emulation are, so it's not doing you any favors. So far, this is where we're at. I talked about how most PC players buy their games, and I used Witcher 3 as an example. If pirating on PC was such a rampant issue, why is The Witcher 3 outselling the console versions? And plenty of other games have done that as well. You agreed with that, but then you switched the goalpost to, yeah, you're right, but you talked about emulation and mods several times, so that's not doing you favors. That's neither here nor there. That doesn't make any sense to me to bring that up. But anyways, this is where we're at. But mods and emulation are great. Even developers in the law agree. Just because you don't like it or think it's right doesn't change the fact that they are both legal practices that have the majority of the industry's support. Stop calling me out, because we will never agree. Because we do this like every now and then. It just doesn't make sense. Like, I'll talk about emulating a game or a mod I'm using in a game, and then you'll reply just, about whatever, like how you don't agree about what I'm doing. So he said, stop being hypocritical. And I'm like, I'm not being hypocritical, you're just mad I don't agree with you. You don't like that I support emulation of mods of any kind, which is fine, but we don't have to have these arguments every month about why your arbitrary rules for mods and emulation are the right rules. I don't want to argue about, we already disagree on when and what games can be emulated, which is fine. I think it should just be fine across the board. You think it should just be older games. You didn't specify how old or how young they can be, but fine. I'll just make an assumption and say at least last gen. And then the stuff about mods where you're only fine with mods that fix issues, but no mods that add replay value or make a game more fun or silly or, to do whatever you want to do. You're not fine with that. And then you say you talked about killing the narrative that people have with piracy, but then say how great mods and emulation are. You contradict yourself all the time. That's not a contradiction. I am killing the narrative that people have with piracy. You and I both agree that most people do not pirate. You and I both agree that a lot of people on Twitter over-exaggerate about how many people pirate. We agree. You are equating mods. Mods doesn't make sense. Emulation, I'll give you some leg room there because it's a double-edged sword, There are going to be people that instead of dumping their own game into their own computer to use on the emulator, they'll, maybe it's easier for them to just download the ROM of the game they own, online. Or, maybe they don't have the game anymore and they just figured, well, I fucking owned it at one point, so I'll just download it. Or maybe they're a piece of shit and are just emulating games from whatever time. But I'm assuming you would only have a problem if they're emulating like current gen games or maybe some of last gen or all of last gen. You wouldn't have a problem with them emulating Super Mario Bros. 3 or anything like that, I'm assuming. Notice how none of that, it still has nothing, even if we assume the worst, that everyone who emulates pirates, that's not defeating the point that you and I just agreed with a few tweets ago. They are in the minority. We both agree that they are in the minority, but me supporting the actual act of emulation is not me supporting piracy. That's not a contradiction. And Mandy, I really, really want to drive this point because, look, I do not advocate for piracy. I know I have stated on Twitter that I'm going to pirate games, and sometimes I'm being hyperbolic. And really, here, I'm going to be honest right now. Let's name all the games I pirated. Let's see. I pirated Metro Exodus, but then it came to Xbox Game Pass, so I deleted the pirated copy and played it through Xbox Game Pass. Then I pirated Control, played it for an hour, didn't like it, because I really wanted to play the game, but there was no demos. Like a demo, if they offered a demo, I wouldn't have to pirate a game. What else have I pirated? I think that's it. I think in my whole gaming career, 2 games. One I played on Xbox Game Pass, and the other one I deleted because it was boring, and there was no demo for me to try it out, and I didn't want to shell out $60 for a game I wouldn't like, and probably couldn't get a refund because it was on the Epic Game Store. And that's why I think sometimes piracy is justified. Yeah, it's wrong. I don't want anyone to just be pirating games, especially like just to be cheapskates. How do you say that? To my knowledge, off the top of my head right now, I've only pirated 2 games. One that I deleted and played on Game Pass, and the other one that I just wanted to try out. There was no demo, and it's on the Epic Game Store, so I don't have the benefit of buying it on Steam and then, I play for a couple hours and issue a refund. So I pirated that to try it out, and then I deleted it. But even with all that, like the act of using mods and emulation, that's not me contradicting myself. And everyone's like, I fail to see the connection between mods and piracy. Like, Mandy, did you know that some games like, what's that game called? Oh man, what is it called? Is it Ark Survival? I don't know, but some games, Mandy, would not even exist without mods. Like what? Oh man, what's it called? DayZ? H1Z1? One of those games would not exist if they weren't a mod. I just don't understand like the problem you have with mods. Like I can see emulation because there is that temptation, and you'll talk about this later in this video response you made to me. I get the temptation that emulation can have to make piracy more enticing. That's the double-edged sword that I was talking about earlier. I think emulation is great, but I'm sure there are some scumbags who don't dump their own games, or who don't at least own the game that they're downloading the ROM for, you know? And I don't agree with that at all. But emulation itself, the actual act of just playing the game on an emulator, it's not illegal. You agree with that. You know this. So me talking about how great emulation is and how great mods is, I don't understand. I fail to see how that is me contradicting my narrative that most people do not pirate games, which you also agree with me on. So I just say, if you're comparing mods to piracy, you're either insinuating that using mods is illegal, which is dumb, or you're saying that downloading and distributing mods is illegal, which is also dumb. It makes no sense. We have literal entire businesses thriving on mods, entire games created by mods. Steam supports mods, Bethesda supports mods. Like there's entire websites where you can download mods and no one's taking them down. It's because it's not illegal. I don't understand why you're comparing mods to piracy. I'm giving you some legroom with emulation, even though I disagree, because emulation is just playing the game. Emulation is not, it has nothing to do with pirating a game. But I'm giving you legroom because there is the temptation there to just, hey, if I'm just emulating, I might as well just download whatever the fuck I want, instead of going through the hassle of dumping my own games. I don't agree with anyone doing that. I don't care. I don't agree with it, but I don't fucking blame like people who, like, I have Super Mario Sunshine somewhere in my fucking garage, all scratched up, and my GameCube is broken. I'm not about to go out and hunt for a GameCube that may or may not be working by some sketchy dude in an alley off a Craigslist ad, and then go to Mount Vesuvius and look for the only copy of Super Mario Sunshine that works, just to play it, or just to see that if I can even dump it. I'm just gonna get that fucking game off a ROM site. Nintendo has even downloaded ROMs from ROM sites for their own emulators.
Hi Mario. So, I'm gonna get a few things straight so you don't just go off saying what you want, and that is, I'm okay with emulation and mods under certain circumstances. Now, you won't say that because it doesn't fit your narrative, but that's the truth.
You're okay with mods and emulation under circumstances. I apologize for insinuating otherwise, but let's continue.
Anyways, the biggest problem I have with you is you know that mods and emulations are like a gateway drug to piracy.
No. Look, like I said before, I'll give you some legroom for emulation. Like I've stated before, there is that temptation to just download shit off the internet. I will never deny that at all. It's a moral gray area that should be debated. It's constantly being debated. I have found several instances where the law says that if you own a copy of a game, you have a right to a digital backup of that game. If I can find that I don't know what you would call it, legal document or whatever. I'll put it on the screen. But I've done my research on this, Mandy. I'm not even gonna go over the mod thing because that's stupid, Mandy. I apologize for being rude, but that's just dumb. I have no idea how mods could even be a gateway drug to to piracy. That makes zero sense to me. I have used so many mods. How is me making Mr. X, Thomas the Tank Engine, going to influence me to pirate a game? Like, there are studies to see that things and actions and drugs lead to, other stuff. Calling it a gateway drug. There are studies for that. I have not found a single study that takes a sample of people, has them play with mods, and then checks in with them later to see if they've downloaded any games off of fucking piratebay.com. That doesn't happen. That literally doesn't happen. I'll give you some space for emulation because there's that temptation, but let's continue.
It's a very thin line, and that's why I put the comparisons there. But then on the same note, you go like, oh, mods are so best. Oh, emulation, yay, I'm gonna emulate all my games. And what? I don't believe in this developer. Let me pirate their game. And you said that before. So...
yeah, I have said that before. Usually and that's just me. So most recently, Sony struck a deal with Activision to have Modern Warfare Remastered, or Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, exclusive to PS4 for a month. I was saying I was going to pirate the game. And I probably won't. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But that's just because I don't give a fuck. A company decided, while I'm the consumer, a company decided that my money is not worth enough for me to play at the same time as everyone else. They're taking a bag from Sony and saying I can't play this game for a month on the platform that I want to, on a historically multi-platform game. Like, that is anti-consumer, and there's no other way for me to be against that. Either I cannot buy the game, which I'm probably just gonna do. I'm probably not even interested in playing that game, to be honest, now that I've seen gameplay from it and it's not even multiplayer. And my moral compass, Mandy, which if you want to, we can discuss it. Like, this is a very interesting topic for me. We can discuss this on a live stream or on Discord, just privately or whatever, and you can maybe at least see where I'm coming from. But I have somewhat of a moral compass. I'm not going to just pirate games because I'm broke or because, I just don't want to pay for games in general or anything like that. And I already told you the 2 times, and I've already talked about the 2 games I pirated, and one of them is completely deleted. Actually, they're both deleted. Just one of them I deleted because I wanted to fucking try it out, and it sucked, which was Control, and the other one was Metro Exodus, which I didn't want to buy in the Epic Game Store because I didn't want to use game. They literally took the game off of Steam, which is anti-consumer. They paid the publisher off to take the game off Steam and put it on the Epic Game Store. So yeah, like you said, it's a very thin line. It's a gray area with stuff that, it's where the morality is very malleable. And I've stated before that piracy in general is bad, but in my opinion, there are several instances I can come up with where it's justified. So for example, if a game has DRM like Denuvo, and years later Denuvo goes out of business and shuts down their servers, and my game can't access the servers that has the DRM, I literally can't even open the game. I can't play it. That's inherently anti-consumer. So if someone had a pirated copy of that game, they literally have a better version of that game that not only runs better, but will never lock you out of it, ever. And we have no idea if Denuvo is going to be here forever or go out of business in 5-10 years or whatever. Imagine buying a game today and then 5 to 10 years from now you can't play it because Denuvo shut down their servers and you can't access it. It's happened before with many other games. And in instances for me where I decided, I'm not saying piracy is good to do. You know, I would never tell people, yeah, just pirate games. But to me, there's just times where I feel like it's justified. If you think I'm wrong for pirating in any circumstance, that's fine. That's not the point of anything of what we're talking about, because what we were talking about originally is something that we both agreed on, is that most people do not pirate games. That's what I was talking about when I shared that post with the Witcher 3 sales. Most people do not pirate games. We have game sales that exceed like all the consoles. And my post said, if it's such an issue on PC, why are games selling more than the console counterparts that don't have that issue of people being able to pirate as easily?
My thing is, that's very, very hypocritical of you, sir. You are trying way too hard to be somebody like Rags or something like that, because it's just plainly obvious and your statements always contradict themselves. And if you just enjoy consoles, why just enjoy consoles?
I do enjoy consoles. I have almost all of them.
It always has to be oh, this game is good on the consoles, but it's better on the PC.
Yeah, because a lot of the time, a game on console is better on PC. What is wrong with me saying that?
Don't come at me saying, oh, I have a consoles like my PlayStation and my Switch. That means I'm pro console. No, you're not. If anything, you just use that as a crutch when people call you out saying, oh, you're just a PC fanboy. Oh, here, take a picture with my PlayStation 4. Like, that's gonna do anything.
I'm not really understanding, like, what you mean. What do you mean I'm not pro, what? What? So I use my consoles that I actually enjoy using every day as just a crutch? Do you think I don't play my consoles? I mean, you have me added on Switch. Why don't you check out how many thousands of hours I have on my games? Like, or probably not thousands, hundreds. Fucking like 600 in Smash alone, but what do you mean I use my consoles as a crutch? I don't. If someone calls me a PC fanboy, they're assuming that I don't have consoles. They're assuming that I favor PC, which I do, but that doesn't mean I don't like consoles or I don't support them. I'm not sure what you mean by this.
Take a picture with my PlayStation 4. Like, that's gonna do anything. It's what you say, not how many pictures you take, and you know that. And you know that well. So what I'm trying to say is, your hypocrisy is very noticeable, and you contradict yourself a lot because maybe you do enjoy consoles, you just don't want to admit it, which is weird.
I enjoy consoles. What? I'm not scared to admit I enjoy consoles. I don't understand what you're trying to do.
Because just admit you enjoy a console.
I enjoy consoles. I played Persona 5 for like 40 hours straight. I play Animal Crossing every day. I enjoy consoles. So what? If you look at my timeline or interact with any of my other tweets that isn't talking about... Because, Mandy, like, this is what I've realized. You only interact with me when you disagree about something I'm saying, and you only disagree about something I'm saying when I'm talking about emulation, mods, or piracy. You don't interact with me any other time I'm posting about the games I'm playing. You don't interact with me when I'm talking about, other people or, other games or what's happening in the industry or anything. You don't ever interact with anything that I do. It's like you wait until I talk about emulation or mods, and then you jump in. Like, if that's the case, like, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but like, unfollow me. because I'm going to talk about how great mods and emulation are. Like, I'm really trying not to have a problem with you, but you're making these assumptions and you keep calling me a hypocrite, but you're not explaining why I'm a hypocrite. And you did this like 2 weeks ago as well. Like, you call me a hypocrite, I explained why, and you said never mind. Like, if it's so easy, just show me screenshots. Show me where I was a hypocrite. From the original post that you first commented on that started it all this, you literally agreed with the premise that most people do not pirate games and that the overwhelming majority of people on PC buy their game, and that people who pirate games and people who pirate download ROMs for emulation are in the minority. But even if they were in the majority, that's neither here nor there. I'm not saying, like, I'm not praising emulation and praising mods or saying how great they are is not me contradicting my stance on piracy. Piracy is bad. I would rather you call me out for pirating a game, for pirating 2 games. I would rather you call me out for that. But calling me a hypocrite for praising emulation and mods? That doesn't make any sense. I would rather you just say, hey, you've pirated games, you piece of shit. Which I literally can't say no. And I've never even insinuated that I never have. And most of the time, when you see me on Twitter and I'm saying I'm pirating the fuck out of Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, I was mostly joking. Like, that day I was so set on doing it, but then I watched gameplay. Like I said earlier, I'm like, I lost interest, so I'm probably not gonna even bother fucking doing it. You haven't shown me why supporting emulation or why supporting mods is me being a hypocrite on my stance for piracy. That makes no sense, Mandy.
And then you go on this tirade on your high horse saying, oh, I'm trying to squash all the misinformation about piracy on the PC. When on the same tweet, you're like, oh my god, emulation mods for the win. It makes no sense.
It does make sense. I can support mods and emulation have nothing to do with piracy. Huh? Do you really think they do? Because any game I've emulated, I've dumped into my own PC. I never pirated them. Except, wait, no, I lied. Except Super Mario Sunshine, because I literally could not find a copy. Am I not allowed to have a copy of a game I own? Because I own it, it just doesn't work. I really could not find a copy of that game that works. I bought 2 off of some dude and they just, after playing us to a certain point, they wouldn't work. Emulation literally is saving that game for me. Unless the remasters of that game for Switch is true. That's literally the only way I can play. I don't want to go through a fucking another week of hassle just to play an old game. You even agreed with emulating old games is fine. So I don't understand how I'm a hypocrite. Mods has nothing to do with piracy. I played Persona 5 on RPCS3. I have a copy of the game for PS4. I dumped a PS3 version of it because there's no PS4 emulator. And that's it. Did the same for Breath of the Wild.
And it makes you look kind of bad in a way. And that's coming from me. I say a lot of bad takes. You say more bad takes than me. So, yeah, that's just my gist of it. And yeah.
Alright. Well, I just want to end this with saying, Mandy, I am open to having a proper conversation about this because I really don't think exchanging like Twitter tweets is gonna do it, you know? So, but like, I just don't understand. I get where you're coming from, but like, mods has nothing to do with piracy. We can agree to disagree. I'm open to talking more about this if you want. I just, but yeah, I mean, I really tried. Like, I just can't get over this, man. This was my post, and where is it? You agreed with me. I just don't get it. Like, mods and emulation have nothing to do with what I was saying on this post at all. Me praising mods and emulation is not me being hypocritical. And you have yet to explain, you didn't explain one time why it's hypocritical.